Hey, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and Ichikaze Kurasa. It has been a while. Damn, hello again, my friend. I hope you have been well, sir. How have you been, man? Alright, so, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my stream. I am playing RWBY Grim Eclipse. Now, from what I know about this particular series is that this game was actually derived from a, uh, a CG animation, a CG animated TV series. Supposed to be the sole proprietor of Rooster Teeth, as you can see at the bottom right corner. So yeah, so I didn't really check out much about this game itself because I want to keep it a bit of a surprise. I got this as a gift from one of my viewers by the name of White underscore Dragon Games. She has been very kind to me as you are all, and I really appreciate you all, supporting me all this time. So, without further ado, let's just jump right in and see what happens. Okay, so I did some prior settings just to make sure as it is. I haven't really gone into like single player multiplayer yet, so I'm not sure how it function. So here's hoping things doesn't screw up. So with that said, let's give it a go. Looking for people to play with. I wouldn't mind. Certainly. I'm not sure what to expect in this though. Oh, you're back to school now. Congratulations. Oh, and by the way, how about your decision to getting yourself a Nintendo Switch? Like what happened to that? Something's amiss in the Emerald Forest. We need boots on the ground to investigate. Let's give that a shot. Let's see. Ooh. Hello there, folks. My apologies for that sudden disconnection. I'm not sure why. Already, just as we got into the streaming itself, there's already a technical problem. I'm not sure what's causing it. I'm pretty sure nothing's running in the background to stop it. I hope it's not because of the Discord, because it would be very weird if that is, but well, I don't know about that. Still. Well, anyways, hold on, ads. I have ads? Really? Alright, so, anyway, as I was saying, mild, arrogant, mysterious, and spunky. Right? What's the arrows for? Yang, so Ruby, Wise, Blake, and Yang, which would explain RWBY. Okay, so what's up? Oh dear. Oh, it's uniform. Okay, so Ruby is OP. Well, I'm not sure what any of them does. Okay, so she's is that what is that she's holding in her hand? Is that some kind of like radio boom box or something, like super compact version? She's clearly has a sword, a rapier of sorts, well, whip and close combat punching. So you say Ruby is OP, so maybe I should use something that's different. You know what? She's smiling, and she's showing her navel, I think. So yeah, you know what? Let's pick her. Oh dear! What the heck? What are they going to the the uniform is an additional DLC that you need to buy. So for the for the Beacon Academy costume pack, it's additional $2.50. So no thank you, sir. Likewise for the dance costume too. I'll just remove those. I don't want to accidentally buy them. Let's go with classic. All right, let's pick this one. Right, play. Let's see how we'll play. Whoa. You know what? This reminds me of Unity. Immediately, Unity, man. Let me check if the audio is working for. Let me know if the audio is working for you guys. So, okay, so there's no tutorials yet. So I suppose spacebar is jump. Okay, that's left click is dash, or is that punch? It seems punch. Right click. Okay, so left click is light punch. Right click is heavy punch. Okay, click, click, click. Okay, so succession. There we go. I just saw the explosion. All right. What about you? Nope, it's like only once. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. So what I did was 3 left clicks, 1 right click for a combo. 1, 2, 3, boom. What about 1, 2? Okay, so left click, right click immediately does this. What about left click, right click? Okay, left click, right click. Oh, okay, so 5 times I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the fourth, so it's actually 4 left clicks. The last one is the second explosion with a flying kick. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the right click wouldn't work now. Jumping? Okay, so it works too. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's just 4. 1, 2, 1. 2. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Wow, I have to try to memorize it. I'm just like getting used to this. I suppose I can break this. There's a bit of a lag there all of a sudden. Wait, what's my motivation? Did you just stop me off like that? What's the story? Oh.
Let's start this mission with a yang.
Oh, the pun. Let's start this mission with a... Oh, there's monsters there? Okay. Okay, so tab brings this up. Shift. Oh, shift is dodge, I think. Like roll forward. Oh. I think I got someone's attention. Oh. I saw E there for a moment. Alright. Is that E? Whoa. E. No. This is gonna take a while. Oh dear. Alright, so okay, alright. Boom. I need to get used to the shift bar though. E, E, F. Is that E or F? Oh, it's an F, I think. Show up for the good guys.
Students. As you know, we've been having some trouble with the security network in this area. We need boots on the ground to investigate. That means you, team. Onward.
What a hard. So wait, I'm a student, and you're letting your students to take care of the security on school grounds. All right. What's this? Artifact. Check this out. An artifact. Interesting. For you folks that have actually watched the TV show, like how is it? How is it like? But anyways, Ichikaze, have you gotten in touch with your friend regarding about getting yourself the Nintendo Switch? Like what's the decision on your part? Is that a map or something? Okay, C brings this up, so this is probably my character skills. Oh wow, okay. Interesting. X, Z, Q, E, R. Oh, what was that? Huh? What's R for? Hang on, hold on. Settings. Is there a key option here that I can see? I don't see it. How about help? Ah, there we go. Okay, so R is shoot. Okay, T is in chat game. E is team attack, use revive. What about the F? Count. Oh, F is for counter. You can use controls too. Interesting. Alright, so C is upgrade. Oh my goodness, I should have seen this. So Q is for ultimate. Alright. Alright, I get it. You need to watch the series, man. So it's that good, huh? But then again, I suppose, you know, it is by Rooster Teeth, so... And I'm aware of their Red vs. Blue series, so I'm a fan of it. Since the days of Flash. The days of Newgrounds, that is. Remember those days on Newgrounds? Ah, those were the days that they gave us some really awesome. You're getting it. Oh, you're getting it. That's nice. So, are you getting one for me? Are you buying it for me as a gift? Shameless. Oh dear. F. Oh, darn. Okay. F. Oh, it doesn't work. Huh. Ouch, ouch. R, R, R. Alright. Let's dodge out of the way. Pop, pop, pop. Boom. Alright, alright. Oh boy. Damn you. Ow. This is Q. That's the ultimate?
That's gonna leave a mark.
Someone getting used. Now it's about waiting for him to go to Japan. You know, strangely enough, like after the hype and all that stuff, and I found myself like less hype about it than before. I also thought to myself like, is it really something that I really want to get at this point of time? So I'm suppose I should be glad that I'm not exactly very hot for it right now. Like some people say that you're not a true Nintendo fan. It's like, well, that's true. I'm not exactly a Nintendo fan, but I still do appreciate good games from time to time, and if the Nintendo Switch has some really nice games that allow me to have fun with other players too, that'd be awesome too. But for the time being,
the Emerald Forest is filled with the ruins of ancient kingdoms. Keep an eye out for artifacts. Dr. Oobleck is always looking to expand Beacon's collection.
Okay. Oh, is there a side path over here? Anyway, as I was saying, because since I already got the PC, right, I thought that, you know, I could just... I mean, I still got a lot of games to go for.
Check this out.
Check this out. Found another artifact, it would seem. So, I have to think it through. And besides, I am in the midst of a job hunt, so I shouldn't spend much money on anything else other than the daily essentials like food and traveling. So, as much as I would like to... Oh man, I really have to forego it. But even so, let's say I get it, right? Let's say I do get the game itself. What game? I mean, let's say I do get Switch itself. Kitty goes. Like, what games would I want to get? Oh, is it fighting already? All right, let's go for that. Can I target? Well, it's on my map, I suppose. Oh, F. Didn't work. Oh, aerial combat. Oh, nice. Okay, okay. I'm getting a hang of it. Okay, so 1, 2, what? 1. Okay, so nice, nice, nice. All right, all right. I'm definitely getting the hang of it now. I just discovered a combo. So first left click twice, 1, 2, and then in aerial attack. which should give me like 2 or 3 more hits. Okay, so I could go 1, 2, up, 1, 2. Okay, 1, 2, up, 1, 2. Yeah, so this should give me 6 hits with 2 light attacks. Oh, sorry, 4 light attacks and 2 heavy attacks. As far as I can tell, that's optimal so far. Granted. Oh, okay. Now, some more, you know, fighting or horde fighting game connoisseurs out there might say that, oh, it's not that great and all stuff, but still I have to give them credit. It feels meaty. It feels like, you know, the punches and all stuff feels like there's a really nice hit to it. So hey, you know what? I enjoy it. I generally enjoy it. Your ultimate pull increases by 1. Aura regeneration. What's that? What's that for? Hunter, reach any character, ranged. Fires 2 missiles at the end of a range attack. 4. Improved blast wave. Team attack. I'm not exactly in the team right now, so it's not very useful. I guess I'll keep it. So by the well, Zelda and Splatoon so far. Yeah, you see, that's the
security control center for this region is inside that cave. Go have a look, and maybe we can discover what the problem is.
I agree. I agree with your, you know, game choices thus far. Like, you know, Zelda is definitely gonna be one of it. Oh, secret path, which isn't very secret. I mean, it's like you just need to divert a bit, and you know, Zelda, yeah, Splatoon, Bomberman is more of a personal choice already, but still, from as far as I can tell, from my read and what I heard, it's not exactly a bad option, bad choice to go for. Ooh, invisible wall. Ugh, they shouldn't have done that. It feels really odd. Okay, so as if I'm the game or level designer, I believe it should be more of the level designer, I would try to block this out with more gates that actually goes into the hill itself, not leaving it gaping like that with an invisible wall. It does not look good at all. And the invisible walls around these slopes, I mean, I can understand that they want to prevent you from going through to it, but it does feel rather unnatural. But at least so far, you know, combat feels relatively satisfying. Can go down? Nope. Invisible wall right there. You know, they could, I think, to actually help with, you know, discourage. Oh dear, okay. You know, like discouraging players from trying to go down there, right? Maybe they could fill it with, like, say, a deeper cavern or like fast flowing river, if assuming that this character cannot touch water, you know, like in the first and the second Assassin's Creed where like, I fell into a ankle height water and then I just died right there. Control center. But anyways, I you know, I after thinking it through, I feel that I should, you know, focus on first getting myself a job, finding myself a job, and then maybe take a lean back again and take a look at the Switch situation, because I do have the 2DS, and recently, from what I've read, there may be an option for me to actually stream the games and this little guy onto the screen, and I find that prospect very exciting. Control center, what is this?
Some sort of foreign object. I feel like I've seen that symbol before. Never mind that. Defend the control center while I undo the damage. Make sure your weapons are loaded and your mustache wax is stowed. This could get hairy.
Oh dear. Ouch. Whoop, 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 whoop. Okay, clear
Students, we're
the
quarter
wave.
of the way there. Keep up the good work.
Oh, 3 more waves. Okay. Oh dear. Ouch. Oh dear. Okay. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Alright, alright, alright. Okay, okay. So far so good, so far so good. Okay, I pretty much almost got the idea of the counter move. All right, all right. Okay, okay, I'm getting it. I'm getting it. There we go. Oh, there was an E there too. Oh dear, oh dear. Whoop. Ouch. Oh, there was an E there too. Okay, so that's probably a finisher move. Oh, leveled up. Boom. Whoop. All right. Hmm? What? Where's the bad guy? What am I missing? Oh dear. Just... Oh, okay, there we go.
Hold on just a little longer. We're almost finished.
Ouch. Ouch. Whoop. Okay, okay, alright. Oh, there you are. F. 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 Oh. Okay, okay. Boom. Alright, alright. Getting it. F. Boom, baby. F. Oh. Boom. Woohoo! Alright, alright, alright. Hello, you bad boy. There we go. Okay. Oh. Oh, that's the larger guy. Oh dear, ouch. F. F. Okay.
Bravo! The security network in this region is shipshape once again. I'll get some of our staff to see if they can find anything about that mysterious symbol. Excellent work.
You can go on the map and explore the entire map on the first stage. They can actually make an open map world style of this game. There was a beta version of this game, although this particular UI does look very rough. I mean, it gets the job done, but still, that sharp angled rectangle. Oh. Okay, moving on. Technical difficulties. I think I'm getting the hang of the combo system. And, you know, doing a relatively good job, considering the fact that there's not a single tutorial.
Another security network in need of repairs. Keep an eye out for any clues about who did this. We're all counting on you.
You're welcome. So, by the way, Ichikaze, has your friend managed to get back to you regarding about the price that you're supposed, I mean the amount that you're supposed to pass him to get the set from Japan? Oh, there's a path over here. Is that where I'm supposed to go? Or is it a side path? I can't really tell. Seems like a side path to me. Oops, I forgot to put my phone on silent mode. Sorry about that. Silent mode, please. Thank you. There we go. There we go. Smash. Smash. Alright, there we go with that.
Check
So-
this out.
Check this out. Alright. Oh yeah, that's right, the skills. I've got 2 points. So quick deals more damage in a larger radius. That sounds useful. So far the others defeat enemies with ultimate attacks to unlock this ability. I had to defeat 300, so I still had to destroy 297 more. According to that. Monster Hunter. Wow, yeah, this is gonna take a while. Here's what. I think I'll grab this one. Boom. Done. I don't regret it. Oh, come on. Seriously? Alright, never mind. Never mind. It's a small thing. Such a large expense too. It's quite a shame that I can't go down there, huh? Oh, this style. Interesting. All right. He's like looking at my younger self too. Can't go into this tower? Oh, what a shame. It's just there for decorated purposes. Whoa, what was that? Did I just teleport?
These are more dangerous than the Grim you fought before. When it sees you, it will spin before it charges. While it's spinning, dodge out of the way. It will be disoriented after it passes you. That's when you strike.
Oh, yeah, this gives me tips on how to deal with them. Alright. Whoop! Whoa, dear. Oh, dear. Press one button. Ah. Yeah, it sure hurts, alright. Oh, jeez. Whoa. Ow. F. Ah. Wow. It's gonna take a while. Believe me, it's totally different from what it was in beta now. So, improvement, right? Oh, dodge out of the way. Alright, this combo is working relatively well. There we go.
Didn't even break a sweat.
Well, he said until when the time comes, and when he's heading there, then he'll bring on the topic again. Alright. Okay. Still, I just hope I just hope that the price range is as what we originally thought it was, around 400 odd Singapore dollars when you buy it in Japan. But that's a very wishful thinking, so gotta watch out for that. Oop. Smash, smash. Oh, there's another artifact.
Check this out.
Check this out. Oh yeah. By the way, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before at the start. Although I did have the message at during the stream about the Start Now screen, is that this game was donated to me by a viewer by the name of White_Dragon Games. One of the viewers there. I know that I actually mentioned this around today, but I just want to repeat it again because it's very nice of her to actually donate to, just gifting me this game. I really appreciate it. I have to say that this game actually caught my attention too. Oh, there's a bit of echo there. Hello. Oh my goodness, look at that. So open world too. It's like a pseudo Zelda, man. This could be what it is. All these butterflies. Oh. Come to me, butterflies. Give me power. Whee! Ah, so once I jump down, that's it. Oh dear. Oh! I thought I actually countered that. Why doesn't it work? Oh dear, that sound. That sound scared me, man. Why? What's that sound? Is it the appearance of monsters? Nothing really says that though. Alright, so smash this guy. There we go. Smash some more.
I know it's a stretch, but maybe you operate that mechanism to extend the bridge.
Oh, of course, Professor. Why would I ever doubt your educational prowess? So smart. I would have never been able to figure that out. E.
Ah, it worked! And seemed to attract some drift.
Of course. Why wouldn't it? Ow! Alright. Alright. Okay. Booyah! Is it even moving? Dodge out of the way. Okay. Yeah. Ha. Oh, it's this guy's. Whoa, yeah. Oh, yeah. Ouch. Okay, okay. Ow. Oh, no. What? That's, okay, you know what? I might be getting over my head. And we repeat this again. Refund skill points? No. Let's stick to it. I'm sticking to my decision. The price might actually drop. Not that soon, I think. I mean, if the price of the console drops like only after 1 or 2 months after its release, it's gonna look really bad for the project. You know, like to the business investors, you know, like business owners and stuff. It would appear to be a sign of weakness and would look really bad for Nintendo. So I highly doubt they're gonna have a significant price drop for it, probably only after maybe say at least 6 months, but even so 6 months is also very short.
To attract some drift. Happy hunting.
Happy hunting. Why wouldn't it? There we go. It could be their plan too. But still, even as a plan, it doesn't sound like a viable plan, you know what I'm saying. Still, they might have whatever plan as you say. Could be. Could be. Whoop. One, two, boom. 1, 2, boom, 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 boom. There we go. Okay. Almost there, almost there. It's over here. Wave 3. There we go. Oh dear, ouch. How dare you? Ouch. F. Okay. Alright, alright, alright. Nice.
Ow! Right in the kisser.
Alright. Use my ultimate right over
Please,
there.
take your time, why don't you?
Ouch. I'm still trying to get the use of the E button. Oh
Does
dear.
that tickle?
Ouch. Oh, come on. Are you serious? You can follow up the uppercut with a slam down. That's what I did, actually. Oh my god. Okay. I suppose it would be noticeably easier if I'm playing it with a team member. Although I wonder if they would actually adjust. Oh, new skills. Have I not applied it? No, I think it's the new one I got. Team attack. I don't really have a team to use this with, so well. By the way, if you fail to counter them, they'll hit you back instantly. Oh, this is gonna be rough. This is going to be rough, mate. So rough. So rough. And now I'm back to smashing pots again. Alright, alright.
I know it's a stretch, but maybe you operate that mechanism to extend the bridge.
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna be repeating this again. Alright, go.
Ah, it works! And seems to attract some grim. Happy hunting!
So the monsters are known as Grims. Okay, that's one thing I learned from the series itself. Dodge out of the way, thank you. Ouch! Well, we can wait for major price drop, it's better than nothing. True, true. I mean, it's definitely something. I suppose I'm just looking at it as like, you know, as what I can do with whatever I can or whatever I have right now, which essentially is I have a 2DS and I haven't really exhausted the entire playlist, you know, the game library yet. So I know it's not fair to compare a 2DS or 3DS with a Nintendo Switch, but what I'm saying is that I do have a portable system and it's something that I could definitely explore. Oh yeah. Cool. Boom, baby. Oh. Oh, I dodged out of that way, man. Oh! Boom. F, 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 F. Yes. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, heal up, buddy. Heal up, heal up.
Please, take your time, why don't you?
F. Hmm?
I got this.
I unlocked the challenge? Really? Okay. Boom. F. Okay. Intense. Focus, focus. Woohoo! Alright. Oh my god. What? E for team combo, solo combo, finish combo, F for countering. Yeah, that's what I read too, but it doesn't come very naturally, you know. I see. I was like, those icons came in just in time, but then already I've already pressed the left or the right mouse button. Oh my goodness. Okay, I think I'm gonna be stuck on this level for a while. This is not good. You can survive more damage. Alright, you know what? Let's take that. I'm so sorry to be stuck at such an early stage. I really am. Just when I thought that I'm doing relatively well, my hair swells up, but instead the game kicks me back and you know, slaps me in the face and say, "Hey Morris, you are not good enough."
I know it's a stretch, but
Now,
maybe you
please continue
operate
playing
that
this particular
mechanism to
stage as a
extend the
punishment. I could join you, but I'm too experienced. Oh, someone's experienced, huh? Look, if you want to join me, I don't mind at all. No
it
problem.
worked. And seemed to attract some grim.
I don't mind playing with, you know, with other players too. Absolutely, man. F. Hmm? I pressed F. I pressed F. I know I did. Ouch. I know I pressed F. Why didn't it work? That's odd. Oh, there you go. Hello. F. The timing for the F is tricky to say the least. Dodge out of the way, thank you. Alright, got it. So those fall, you know, on. Okay, these are the top ones. Boom! Oh yeah. Alright. Nice. Okay.
Did that tickle?
Okay. Nice. Alright, right. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Jeez, take your time, why don't you?
Jeez. Take your time, why don't you? F. 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 F.
You're not so tough.
Oh, I did it. F. 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 E. Q. Oh yeah, baby. F. 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 E. Boom. Oh yeah.
You're not so tough.
Oh, the boss. E. Oh, I did
Did
it.
that tickle?
Oh, that feels good. That feels good. That feels genuinely good. I had fun with that. The controls feels more or less tight, so you know, it gives you a decent sense of achievement that you know what, you actually did it through skill rather than just bashing keys. And I was like, you know, look, being careful about what I do. Oh, there's the moment of like, oh, once you go down the cliff, you can't go back up. So you gotta watch out for. Oh, here comes the boss. This is standard monster mosh pit. Ouch. F. F. Ah. Okay. Okay, got it.
Didn't even break a sweat.
Nice. But you need to create a multiplayer lobby. Well, I don't mind creating one. But let me just go on a little longer first. Just to get a... Well, I more or less got the gist of the game itself, but still. Just give it a bit more time. And then we'll see how it goes. Although, you know, you could say, hey Morris, I want to play with you. So, you know, in exchange, I'll get you a Nintendo Switch, you know? Sounds like a great plan, doesn't it? Yep, that sounds like a fantastic plan. So thank you. Oh, there's a rock song. Oh, there's a chest. Is this the soundtrack from the TV series? It could be, right? I mean, only you fans would know. Oh, secret route, of course. Why wouldn't that be? Bash, bash. There we go. Okay, this is another monster mosh pit wave. There we go. The wave happened again. What's this?
But those cages. Is someone trying to capture Grim? I don't like the looks of this. For
I
now,
don't
let's
like the
just
looks
focus
of
on the
this.
objective. Defend that control center while I undo the damage. Get ready.
How do you undo the damage if you're outside? There we go. Oh, ow! That was weird. Ah. Oh, no. I'm making all sorts of mistakes. Oh my god.
Quarter of the way there. Keep up the good work.
Alright, you. Keep up the good work. Whoa. Oh no, it's under attack. Ah. Anyone else? Ouch. F, F, F. Oh jeez. Okay, I'm panicking. That's for sure.
I got this.
Halfway point, team.
Air guitar.
Taste my fist.
Oh no! Stop them!
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Hold on just a little longer. We're almost finished.
Really? Are we really almost finished? How the hell do you fix that?
See ya.
Ouch.
Nailed it.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's dodge out of the way. I know. Using the ultimates on those simple guys feels a bit of a wasted thing, but still. I have to try to clear some of them as quickly as I can. Ouch. Oh no, it's being attacked, but first let me kill you up. No.
Good show, team.
Oh, okay. Whew, that was
I've
close.
just received a report. That's right. The symbol we've been seeing belongs to Merlo Industries. It's an old research and development corporation, far before your time. The company was crippled by the collapse of Mountain Glen, where they lost their primary facility and chief staff members. They never recovered from the incident and eventually shut down. Which begs the question, why is their technology suddenly popping up in the Emerald Forest? I've never been one for riddles and history. More of a man of action, if I do say so myself. But I think I know someone who can help. Onward to victory!
So cheesy. Oh, okay, never mind. So the game has different story entirely from the series. Oh, really? The first few chapters is the usual normal stuff. The Forever Fall update is different. Keep out. Mountain Gleam. Alright. Do let me know if the stream is going on well, okay? Like if the audio is fine, you know, if the stream is as smooth as possible, yada yada yada. Let's continue with the character. Cool. Let's put in some new scales. I got, excuse me, I got 1 point. I'll keep that. Is there anything here? There's a crate over there. Almost missed that too. Dang. Dang, son. It was a trap. It was a trap.
Professor Port informed me that you found some old Merlot Industries technology interfering with our security network. It might be nothing. Or it might be everything! Either way, I believe it should be worth investigating the Merlot Industries building in Mountain Glen. If my old maps are still accurate, it should be located somewhere near the center of town. Just do your best not to end up like the brilliant men and women who work there.
I didn't think we'd be coming back here so soon.
I have to say that the voice acting for the doctor over there is a bit cringe-worthy. We're trying to shout, "Oh yeah, it could be everything." It's like, what? That sounds really forced. So it's probably forward right there, but let's go over here. There might be a secret path here, unless they put on the, you know, the invisible wall again. Yup, that's the invisible wall. Oh no. Why? Don't put the invisible wall. At least put a physical wall, a visible wall at the very least. Come on. Give me the decency of actually seeing the wall. Okay, I have to go over here, it would seem. Alright, monsters. Oh, monster's gonna happen. There we go. Okay. Oh dear. Alright, just dodge. F. How come this didn't work? That's odd. F. There we go. F. Alright. There we go. Nice. I am now focused. So much focus right now. What?
That's how it's done.
Really? That's how it's done? That's how it's done? Really? Is that true? Why are there steps here? And those gaps! Ah! It's so painfully obvious. Wait, can I go here? No! Come on! Oh, jeez. Ah, unbearable. Absolutely unbearable. Alright, this way. Alright, crate. Kabam. Dr. Oobleck. Well, clearly you know that character. That's odd. Is the stream like really that long though? Like when I said something, you reacted like, I don't know, like 10-15 seconds later. Maybe even longer too. Smash. Is there a route here? Is this where I'm supposed to go? I think it is. Where? Must be some secret path here. Ah, there it is. Not really much of a secret path, but more like, hey, you know what? Just explore every walkable area.
Found a thingy!
Found the thingy! Oh, there we go. We can smash it. There we go. Again, the empty spots. The open gaping holes. That's challenging my gamer's intuition of passing through it because there's some secret path or places to explore. Oh, wow, the invisible walls.
Well, that's an issue. It appears the bridge is blocked. According to my map, you should be able to take a detour through the city's old waterway system.
Well, what are we waiting for? Get it? Guys?
My brain! There's quite a couple of you know, voice acting moments that I feel like they could definitely do something to improve it. Smash it. You know, the choice of music, they're like trying to sound very foreboding, but at the same time, you know, the world, despite its, you know, like dead look and all that stuff, it still looks relatively colorful. It's not as nitty-gritty as the music would like you to believe it. And why?
Activate the switch to open the lock. I hope it still works. It looks a little rusty.
It looks a little rusty. If it's rusty, I can. Oh, there we go.
Check this out.
Check this out. I've been looking inside it. Yeah, you see? Making sure that I check every nook and cranny. And we're here. Huh, alright. Open door E.
Bring 'em on.
Oh, come on.
Did that tickle?
F. 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 Woohoo! F. 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 Ouch. F. Woo. There we go. Oh my goodness, 5 waves. There we go. I pressed the F key. I did. I know I pressed the F key. I did. I wasn't crazy. F. F. E. F. F. Alright, the counter. So listen to the sound of it. It's an indication that they're gonna attack. Just F it when you hear them shout. There we go. F again. F. 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 Oh dear. F. 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 I'm just raking up the combo kills right over there. F. Oh dear. I spoke too soon. Alright, just dodge on it. F. F. Oh my god. Almost died there. F. 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 E. F. 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 Why didn't it work? Oh my god. That was horrible. Alright, so maybe I shouldn't do that as much as I would like to. Oh my god, I have to go through the entire wave again. Oh, it's gonna be a bloody repeat too. Oh, dang. This is not very kind to me at all.
Activate the switch to open the lock. I hope it still works.
I hope it's too. Oh dear.
Found a thingy.
It literally just drops me where I last did, though. Whoop. If you're still around, I could definitely, you know, like open up a room so that you can join me.
Bring 'em on.
I don't mind getting extra help so I can clear the game. Whoop, dodge. There we go. Anyone? There we go. Booyah!
Did that tickle?
Alright. Oh, jeez, that was... Oh no, it's these guys! Oh! Oh dear. Okay, whew. Okay, alright. Oh, dodge. There we go. Boom. Oh my god, 2 more waves. Boom. There we go. Alright. 1 more wave. Oh. Ouch. Okay, dodge out of the way, heal up first, get my aura up. Aura please, thank you. Boom. Dodge out of the way, E. Oh, that was close.
The door is open.
Alright. Bat Moon Arcanine! It's like Arcanine under a Bat Moon! Okay, that was a horrible joke. Hello there, welcome to Z-Stream. I believe this is your first time here. I heard Oak Black's voice. Yeah, and I was actually commenting about it. More like I was scrutinizing it actually. Spamming F makes you die faster too, by the way. Really? Huh. I didn't know that. Spamming F. Wait, so Batmoon, you heard the doctor's voice and that's what got you to my stream? Really? Shouldn't you be hearing my voice? It's like, oh, you know, this Morrissey sounds so hot. Okay, that came out wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. All Black's my #1 husbando in every fail F equals to enemy attack. I'll try to do that. Oop, F. There we go. E. Okay. It didn't work. Oh, that's odd. Boom. Ooh, dodge all the way. Okay. Oh no! Okay. So much focus right now. So much focus. Oh boy, that was close. Pow! Wearing the kisser.
Chalk one up for the good guys.
Add me on Steam first. Ichikaze, if you want to me to add you on Steam, I'm gonna need your username or something, right? Onspin and Roman a second, third, but they're gone. So Oblex all I have left, and if they kill him, I'm gonna be pissed off. Okay, Bad Moon Arcanine. First off, let me welcome you to my stream. Secondly, I have something to admit to you, which is one, I have not watched the series before, so I'm not exactly sure who are the other two characters that you mentioned, but from the sound of it, I will have to assume that they are men. I know it's like, what, you never watched this
Wonder what that building was.
amazing show? And it's like, yep, I probably haven't watched it, so it's all right, don't worry. You know, like, I think probably by playing this, there's already a lot of spoiler alerts as far as I can tell. Still, did I just discover a new place? I did. Well, not a new place, but another artifact, which are essentially chess pieces. Am I standing on? Oh no, the invisible wall strikes again. Don't be sorry, gets banned. Ruby and joining the game is so OP. Well, again, I don't really know about the characters because I just got this game like yesterday or 2 days ago from a viewer as a gift. Oh, this is a strange game design. Check this out. I'm just trying to run forward, and there's already a gap stopping me from going forward. I have to jump over it. Oh, did they not do some form of QA testing? Quality control at least. Is that a gap here? No, it's just a sheet of corrugated metal. Why is that lamppost here? Why? And surprising, Miss Ashes isn't that good in the game. Ashes? Who? You do realize I don't really know what about the characters that you guys are talking about, right? Not in depth, that's for sure. Oh my goodness, these are long stretches of running simulator with survival punching simulator. Oh, crate. There we go. Oblex, awesome in the series. Not so much in the voice acting department in this game, that's for sure. I felt like the voice actor for the character didn't really sound very clear.
That's
Oh,
the facility. I can't believe how well it withstood the years. A shame still. Dr. Mallow would have never let something like this hinder the progress of his work. I can only imagine.
oh dear.
Watch out, team. The treasure hunt will have to wait until you kill those Grim.
He's addicted to coffee. Oh, yeah. Boom. Ah. Ow. What? There we go.
You're not so tough.
Okay, alright. So far so good, Yep. Oh, it's a launch guy. Alright, dodge out of the way. Oh, down, ouch. Oh. What was that? Ah. Oh, wow, this guy's even larger. That's what she said. That was horrible. Oh, damn. Okay, I died. There could be speed in there. Drinking liquid dust. Okay, I died. Oh, jeez. How many times have I died in this game? Maybe I should have like a death counter and then you guys would be so mad. Alright, so I could create a room for you guys to join me if you want. So I believe it's exit, right? And then to the main... Okay, multiplayer. There we go. And campaign. Play with friends. campaign. I believe it should be campaign. So, huh? No, wait a minute. Is this supposed to be like this? Campaign, sure. Chapter, there we go. So collapse. This is where I am.
Awesome!
So, sure, go ahead. How do I add you? Are you in my friends list? I think I just saw a notice over there. Wolves Bane, thank you very much for hosting my stream. Sure, go ahead. If you want to know, I'm not sure if I can receive PMs in this thing, but hang on, let me just open up a new window. Whoops. Go ahead and send me a whisper, my friend, and then I'll add you in. Batmoon Arcanine, if you also happen to have this game and if you want to join me, by all means, I welcome you as well. So, Ichikaze, waiting on your whisper. Come on over, baby. Come on over, baby. Sure, just whisper me via Twitch your Steam ID, or if you want to put it, you know, on public for everyone to see, that's fine too. I'm nothing against that. And Batmoon, if you don't have the game, just ask Ichikaze to gift you one. Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a great plan. Oh, Ichikaze, you're rubbing onto Batwound's open wound with salt. How could you do that? As punishment, I'm sure that we all agree you have to gift Batmoon Arcanine a copy of the game so that she can join us. I'm still waiting on your username, Ichikaze. See, Batmoon agrees with that icon. She says, "Yeah, that's true." Ichikaze, you have to gift me that game. Gift, not give. It's gift. I took extra care to articulate the extra T, the T, gift. Still waiting on that information, Ichikaze. I'm not sure why it's taking that long though. Give me that information. Give me that information.
Awesome!
Oh. Milky Man, thank you very much for hosting my stream. Thank you. Ichikaze, are you still there? I am waiting for you. I'm waiting for you for that one bit of information. Still waiting. Are you there? I think Ichikaze is gone or something. It's not responding. Oh my goodness, there's already people that joined me. Alright. Let's do this. Start game. I did put it on public. You already filled up before I even know it. Oh dear. What's up? I'm playing with people! Yay!
Support informed me that you found some old Merlot Industries technology interfering with our security network.
So T is
All right,
team
might be everything.
attack.
Either way, I believe it should be worth investigating the Merlot Industries building in Mountain Glen. If my old maps are still
Oh,
accurate,
he
it
really
should be
rushed.
located somewhere near
The
the
character
center.
really rushed to him real
Just do
quick.
the best not to end up like the brilliant men and women who work there.
I didn't think we'd be coming back here so soon.
Whoa, 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 chill, man. Calm. Oh, wow. Took care of it so fast. Give me something to kill, will ya? Dodge out of the way. There we go. You. There we go. Ooh, boy, it might be everything. Yeah, that's the line that I had a problem with. That I commented was like, that there's a bit of an articulation problem right over there. Sister Synergy. I got myself a new achievement, it would seem. Steam Achievement. Alright. So far so good. So far so good. Oh, 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 oh. There we go. Ow. Wow, chaotic. But you know, now I'm playing with even with, you know, public players. It's still pretty exciting. I'm not regretting this. I'm not regretting this decision at all. Opening up my game to everyone else.
That's how it's done.
That's how it's done. For this summer, Jean-Claude Van Damme is. But Bat Moon, I mean, oh, your Zebedee Hiwibi? Is that? Oh, someone disconnected. Come on, why are you disconnecting, man? I'm trying to enter via public room too. Will you be able to join me? It's on PM. But can I invite you? I don't see the option though. But oh darn, I don't think you can join me now. You make me sad. You, Ichikaze,
It appears the bridge is blocked.
you've made me sad. I don't see you.
Perhaps you should be able to take a detour through
You're
the city.
Ustaz, but
Wonderful.
what system is this on? This is on PC. I'm playing via Steam right now. He's so fast. How the hell?
Activate the switch to open the lock. I hope it still works. It looks a little rusty.
Bring them on.
That person is moving ahead so fast. Up, up, up. I don't have a game console, so you know PC is my next is probably the only platform that I can play games on. So yeah. So unfortunately, please don't expect that, you know, you'll be able to play with me with like or rather like you see me playing on like a PS4 anytime soon. Because unfortunately that's not gonna happen because it is a system that I cannot afford. Oh dear. Whoa, 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 whoa. Crap. E. Revive. Oh, I have to press and hold it. Oh shit. Dodge all the way, dodge all the way. Just run, baby. Just run. Player disconnect? Come on, are you serious? Oh my goodness, this is just wave 2 as well. Shit. Sorry, I'm kind of really like focused on the game right now, so I may not be able to respond to you at all. Alright, okay, there we go. But that's a destroy Yoshi noise. You have no idea. Whoop! Boom! Ouch! Boom! Ow! Ah! Nope. Boom. Okay. Alright, they need a server browser, man. I do agree on that part. Oh no, it's the big guys. Alright, get out of there. Jeez. Oh my god. It is relentless. Right, dodge out there, dodge out there. Whoop, boom. Oh, I did it! Oh my god!
The door is open.
Oh my goodness, I do this solo. As the rest of my team members just scattered out of existence. That is very sad. Wait, did I just went through here? Oh, I did, right? Before I like stopped the match and then... Okay, I just heard you say... That is long! Wow. Hang on, let me just... Man, the delay is long. Oh wow, that is a really long stream delay right over there. I'm not sure why though. The stream delay isn't supposed to be that long.
Man, I bet this place used to be nice.
Oh, I saw something that's not nice down there. Let me refresh the stream. Okay, here we go. F. Oh. Ay, ay. Yeah, he's gonna do something. There we go. Oh dear. Alright, alright. Boom.
Didn't even break a sweat.
Didn't break a sweat. Hashtag Reroy, what's up? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you because when the action gets going, I need to focus because there's so many of them. I need to concentrate. So please don't spread that hashtag going on, which is not true. But because if it start trending, I'll become infamous rather than famous. So don't do that, Reroy. All right, there we go. Moving on over to here. So for those that just got in here, this is a game called RWBY. It's supposed to be initials for the 4 female protagonists in this series. From as far as I know, this is supposed to be based off a animated TV show. Funny, how you doing? Hey chat, what's your Steam ID? Steam ID. Hang on, let me just go to the chat so I can type it in. My Steam ID is Kaitos domain. Boom. Wait, so putting up a hashtag automatically makes something trend? Well, you are, look, Leroy, you are potentially putting up something to give it, you know, give it the potential to trend. I mean, like, in that case, Lee Pony Pride. What? No, there's none. There's no pride at all. It's all an illusion. Wait, did I just go through here? What? Huh?
There! That's the facility!
Oh.
I can't believe how well it was.
Right. Okay, here we go.
Still, Dr. Mallow would have never let something like this hinder the progress of his work. I can only imagine what we'll find. Oh dear! Watch out, team! The treasure hunt will have to wait until you kill those grim.
Whoa. Boom. There we go. Wow. Not performing as well as I hope. Ouch. There we go. Oh, the bear guy is here. Bear guy. Ouch. Dodged. Oh dear. Damn. Oh, okay, nailed it. All right. That's cool. Ah! Dodge out of the way. Dodge. Okay. Oh dear. What? Oh dear. Oh no. Damn. I wish I have team members to fight with me. Ow. Oh dear. Watch my health, or aura as they call it. So the health is equivalent to the aura is equivalent to like your health or something. I just learned about that. Dodge all the way. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Dodge. There we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Oh, dodge all the way. Whoa. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Oh, I did it. Oh, jeez. OMG, I could just go to your Steam wishlist to find your ID. That's true, actually. Finally I completed this chapter. Waisney has added you to his friends list. Waisney? Waisney, is that you? I need to give you a nickname. I won't be able to identify you this. Ichikaze Kurasa. Boom. I've given you a nickname now. And I've accepted you in my Steam friends list. So do want to exit the game. I want to back. Oh, escape. There we go. It seems I have to. But my Steam is ZB. Hehe. No, it is not. You crazy person. Right. Let's see if I can add you in. Okay. So it's campaign. Well, I suppose it's supposed to be play with friends now, I suppose. So, alright. Let's see if we can add you in. Create lobby. There we go. Right. So, can I invite you? Okay, I see you now. Let me select that character. Boom! So far, this is the only character I've played thus far. So, campaign, right? Chapter. Below the surface. I'll refresh my game. No. How do I invite you? Let's see. There we go. Invite to watch, invite to trade, invite to group. There's no invite to play. Ah, there you are. What's up? All right, let's do this. Let's do this. Oh, there we go. No, it's supposed to. Oh shit! Sorry. Wrong map. Sorry. Wrong one. Wrong chapter. I made a mistake. Please hold. Jeez. It's not boots on the ground. It's supposed to be under. So chapter below the surface. That's the one. Right. Sorry about that. Please rejoin my game. It's the wrong chapter. There we go. Right. This should be it. Select character. Start game. Boom. Here we go. Sorry, I'm streaming. Select character with skill points. Let's do this. First, I need to put down new skills. I got 1 point, which isn't very much right now. I'll keep it next time. Did you just run ahead? Where are you? Ah, now you appear. There you go. What the heck are you wearing?
Report in!
Whoa. Is everybody okay?
Ah, thank goodness. I'm afraid you're now in Mountain Glen's subterranean levels. This area has become even more dangerous since our last time.
You're so fast. How?
Be careful.
Did we go down? Or is there artifacts here? There's a secret artifact here, I think? Or maybe not. Woo. Woo. No, I want to break some crates too. You're taking my glory. Is there something up there? Nope. Invisible wall. You can hold down shift to sprint. Really? No, it's just dash forward. Oh, some slight increase in speed, that's for sure. What about here? Hang on. There's an artifact here.
Don't suppose they put up an exit sign, huh?
Alright. Oh, finally I can increase in my speed here. Well, here we go. Jolly good there. Alright, here I am. Hoop! Destroy all crates. Oh, there's a monster there. I see it. I see that flash of purple. Oh dear. Dodge. There we go. Hoop! Hold down the key after rolling is sprint. Ah. You taught me that. I'm so happy. Oh, there's another artifact. A chest piece, actually. Hello. It sounds so gay. Oh, hello. The running animation is the same, but you actually move faster. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, actually. I'm coming to help you. Yay, I'm helpful. Man, Ichikazu's character
Do it.
is like, you know, like cheating. I mean, it's like the character just shoots from a distance, from a safe distance. I have to get up close and personal. Is there anything here? Nope. Let's go forward. See, it shoots from a distance. Cheat. No wonder they say it's OP. Oh, what? What happened?
Whoa! What was that thing?
What thing?
It appeared to be a creature of Kryn, but modified, mutated.
Should I just stay up here and just watch you fight? Nah, I'll contribute.
Excellent work, team.
All right, I'm coming over help. There we go. Oh dear. There we go. Oh no, you need help. Word boom.
We all win.
Team setup? How does it work? Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Eat! Ah! I'm close. Okay. Let me help you. Yay!
We won again? Is that a new record?
You
Oh.
should be able to reach an exit through these doors. Just turn the power back on so we can open them up.
Any artifacts here? Oh, experience. Ding. XP awarded. A bomb?
Oh dear. That is a bomb. And a very large bomb at that. Who would booby trap this place? A moment. Okay, team. Physically tampering with this device or the card it's attached to could possibly trigger an explosion.
Oh my god, since when do you play? Well, since like maybe an hour ago, because I got this game as a gift from one of the viewers. So yeah, there we go. And bourbon. What's that? How's it going?
Forget that. Just hurry.
So we are not supposed to touch it, yeah? Oh, there's a crate over there. Time into detonation. What do we do? Dust? Huh?
Ah, the card is out of fuel.
Oh, oh, we have to grab that. Oh, okay, I see. I got it too. Can I play with you? Of course you can play with us. Here's what, maybe after this particular chapter, I will reopen the group again and then, you know, invite you in. Oh no. Let me help you, my friend.
Ah, the card is out of fuel.
Boom. Whoop, 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 whoop. Ah, yeah. Ouch. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Dodge out of the way.
There's no fuel left in the card. Hurry.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Ooh, dodge out of the way. I'll just run over to my mate. Is this the new SAV world?
Keep going.
No, it is not. Oh,
Ah, the card is out of fuel.
can you grab this? Nope. Why? Boom. Ouch! Ouch!
Leave it to me.
Jeez. No. Ah, yeah. Run. Just dodge all the way, baby.
Leave it to me.
Alright, alright. Okay. Whew. Whoop. Boom. Ouch. Oh, damn. Okay, got it. Oh boy. Oh, don't dodge out of the way. Oh, yeah. I know that you guys are probably like cringing at the noobiness that I am showcasing right now, but I'm doing my best. Since I just got this game like, I mean, I just started playing this game like an hour ago or something. Jeez.
Oh, you're almost there. Oh, it's gonna be close. There's no food left in the car. Hurry, gather those dust crystals.
Where? Oh, she got it. She got it. All right. Okay, go. Come on. Ah. There we go. Ooh. Boom. Oh boy. Boom. Oh, okay. Woo. Now in this in person. Did you watch the series? I have not watched the series before, actually. You're almost there. Oh, it's gonna be close. That's where she said.
I'm glad everyone was able to keep their cool and not explode. That would have made for an uncomfortable Still, we reprogram the security.
Dust. I've not picked up a single dust at all. It's all Ichikaze all the while. So, by the way, Ichikaze, you can hear me. After this specific chapter, we'll leave the room and then reopen it again to move on to the next chapter while opening up for the others to join us. So, with how do I join you? Well, first off, yeah, add me on Steam first. Oh, I got more score than Ichikaze. Yay! All right. So, I believe it should bring us back to the room. I think. Oh, what's your Steam name? It's okay, man. I already put it on public, anyways. I believe it's. Hang on. Oh, jeez. Or search for Conquer 001. It's fine too. You should see me. So yeah, I have not watched this series before. So for you fans, you guys will probably freak out and say, "What? You never played this game, you never watched the show before?" You know, and then you come with me with like pitchforks and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, you know what, it's cool, dog. Yo. Alright. And alright, someone just added me. I believe this should be Mr. Bourbon Box. So I'm gonna add you add a nickname so that I'll know it's you. There we go. Okay. Accept. Right. So now you should be able to join me. Should I send you an invite? Is that invite? No, there is an invite. So I suppose you just like join friend or something. Yep. Bacadamianus is me. There we go. That's you. Waste is waste. What? Waste be waste? What's that supposed to mean? That makes no sense. What's this icon beside your name? What's that? What's that? What's that? While we're at it, I'll go and grab something to drink. BRB. And I returned. So where is Bourbon? Bourbon Chan. Bourbon Chan. Have you not gotten into the game yet? Why are you still not in the game, sir? Unless we have to quit. Oh my god. Okay. Okay, looks like we may have to quit the room, and then I have to open up the room again because I don't see you. All right, I'm recreating the room again. Play with friends. There we go. You guys should appear. What? Alright, anyways, I just picked a room. Ah, there you are. Okay, there we go. Select character. Bam. There we go. Yeah, I got 2 points, so I get creature. Oh, let's grab that. Alright, so where are you guys? Are you guys gonna appear? Yeah, there we go. That's one. Hello! Hello! Is there artifact here? Come on, let's go and look for artifacts! No! Artifacts, artifacts, artifacts! Although technically those artifacts are gigantic, how can she actually fit that into a pocket? Unless she got something else, if you know what I'm saying. Witty humor. Oh wow, there's a noticeable lag there. There is definitely a noticeable lag this time. I hit it, boom. Oh dear, this like at least a good second or two before things actually happen. It's a concern. But then again, if I was the host, you guys would be experiencing the lag instead, so well. I came for the grills. Praetorians! No more. I don't know if this Orbeck character is gonna appear, but we shall see. We shall see. Ouch! Wow, this lag is unreal. So many things happening, but the lag is really bad on my end for some reason. So many things happening. To watch what you're streaming. As you can see,
Feels like a
this is
puzzle.
quite a noticeable
I
lag.
love puzzles.
Quite a noticeable lag. Lol. Mouse, you want the host? But you guys will lag instead. Oops. Lag instead, right? Oh. I just got a notification, and Praetorian, thank you very much for following my stream. Pew, 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 pew. Everyone do give a shout out for our newest follower. You're not in the lag. In that case, shall we? Oh. Well, fortunately, we didn't progress a little too much. So, okay, let's restart that. I'm gonna host it so that the experience would be best for you viewers as well. Because otherwise, you just see me like lagging, like whatever I hit responds a second later, and that's a problem. All right, so I'm creating a lobby, and I'm just waiting for the folks to come on in. So campaign chapter, that is right on track. Now I just need to wait for them to come in. Now to wait for Bourbon. He's here. Alright. Oh yeah, select character. Forgot about that. Yang. Nothing like getting fish right in the face. I can't open check with Xbox controller. OMG, who is this? I don't recall this character before. The heck? That's a guy now? What'd you guys do? How come you guys got awesome stuff? JN. Oh. Hmm? Oh, this JNPR is you have to pay $250 for it. Nope. I'll stick with the classic for now. Alright, let's do this. Boom. We are in the right chapter, right? I hope I hope I picked the right chapter. Yeah, right on track. There we go. There we go. I want to apologize beforehand to my fellow teammates because they are playing from other parts of the world and therefore they will experience game lag when compared to me. Find a key thingy. A key thingy? I wish you could play as Beacon Staff, but I don't have it. That's the thing, because I have to buy those DLCs. And my current state... Oh. I should not buy any DLCs as of yet.
Hey, I got a key right here.
You got a key? Really? Forward back, guys. Alright, open the door.
Come on, guys, let's go.
Whee! Whee! So anyways, I do not know about the series. I just got this game. It was gifted to me by one of my viewers by the name of White Dragon Games, and you know, so I wanted to play in her honor. Oh, yeah, So far so good. There we go, there we go, there we go. Yep. Yep. Nice, noise. Very good. Very good. Boom. It's the ultimate, man. Woohoo! Yeah. Boom! Coming to help! Woohoo! Oh! Alright. And we got even, yes, Harem. I see that caught your attention. Although now it's a bit of a different now because I got a guy in my team, a male character. That's what I meant. So it's not much of a harem anymore. I'm a bit shocked with this revelation. My ulti is a buff. Ooh. Smiley face. Alright, so there's many things I do not know about this game, so if you see me doing things that I should do, but I didn't do, please don't hurt me, because I really don't know. Oh dear. Oh. Whee! I mean, I don't even know about the series.
Do we have time to stop for a picture?
Okay, now that voice for that character is quite adorable. It's so pretty. Can we stop for a picture? It's so adorable. Alright, coming. Yeah. Oh wow, he took them out. That was... Ouch. Boom. Oh my goodness, I almost died there. Wow, it's so chaotic. It's so chaotic. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yeah. I'm losing my combos with so many things happening. It's still kind of hard on me. Sure for guys, I think, but I prefer my harem to consist entirely of girls. Preferably busty ones, I suppose. Oh. Alright, so far so good. Bad guys right over there. There we go. Cool. Ouch. Boom. Nailed it. How many does it take to make a harem? Yeah, okay, so that's a very important question. So everyone, that this will be your you know, your homework. 3, that's your standard. Just 3, please. I expected more.
Now we know there are more of them. Follow those train tracks uphill and maybe we can find out where they're coming from.
These are train tracks? These aren't train tracks. You must be crazy, out of your mind. Yeah, I'm running faster than you. Haha. Okay, well, I guess I have a... Alright, that works. They're all girls. Although, I don't really know about the characters, so why... I'm so sorry, guys. My connection just died all of a sudden. What? Okay, I'm trying to get back into it right now. And play. I might be able to join in. I might be able to jump right in. Yes, yes, here I am. This is stupid. Alright, it's alright, it's alright. I'm coming along, I'm coming along. Look, if this is the nature of the beast now, I'll just have to bear with it. Although... You're transferring control to me. I'm so sorry. Who's the new host? Not me, that's for sure. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. My connection just died. All of a sudden. Aw, Bourbon's gonna go eat. I'm so sorry, guys. This is so embarrassing. WTF. Dang it. Dang it. Oh, alright. Now it's migrating the host status to me. This is stupid. Alright, I guess we will progress as it is, I suppose. Shall we? Do we go ahead? Should we go ahead? No, it's not just the multiplayer system. My connection literally just stopped. You know, it just cut off. For some stupid... I don't know. It could be my Wi-Fi dongle. Could be. Suppose we go ahead. There we go. Clear disconnected? What? Hey, you're in. Haha. Oh, back person. Where did I go? This way, right? Hey, there you are. Yay! Yay! He went to eat. Yep, I saw that too. Alright, you lead the way, sir. Oh, great and powerful leader. And just a minor setback. Oh, oh, and whoa there! My connection almost died for some unknown reason. It's definitely not the server. It's my internet connection for some reason. All of a sudden, I was like this weird lag spike. Whoop. Coming. Boom. How's that? That right moment, man.
Taking out the trash.
Taking out the trash. It's trash day tomorrow. Oh, is there a path here? Is there an artifact here? Yeah, there is. I was right. Oh dear. There we go.
See ya.
I got the artifact. Oh god, here.
Careful, guys.
Yeah,
You
my
want
harem's
trip in
every man though, so.
forever fall. Eh? Am I right?
Did Yang just make another pun joke? Oh my god. Hey, this fall, my character is kind of like a tank at something. Oh, really? Well, you do have a shield. Wave 1 incoming. Hoop. Ow. Coming. Oh, I was about to come in and help you out with my ultimate. Oh, boom. How's that? Pretty cool, huh? Boom. You may say that it could be a bit of a waste, but I don't think so.
Never mess with my...
There we go. Woohoo! Nice. Oh my goodness, 4 more ways to go then. 4 more ways to go, mate. Boom. Woohoo! Nice, nice, we did it. Well, not really. Oh dear. Boom. Smash you in the face. Woo. Alright. My poor mouse is taking a beating with all the all the stuff going on. Oh my goodness. How is he doing so much better than me? I'm the one who was supposed to be the decreased lag though. Unless of course this just means that I just suck all around. Alright, coming. I'm coming! Ooh. If you guys are getting motion sickness, I apologize. You know, all the fast movements and flashings and all that stuff. I really apologize. This is the nature of the beast after all. Oh, damn. Damn is good. Oop. Damn it. Oh. Boom. Wait, it didn't work for that? Well, I still got one more ultimate to go, so let's not waste it yet. Just store it up a bit. Store it up just a bit more. Oh dear.
As if the regular creatures had enough.
Oh dear. F. Nope. Boom. Crap, I'm missing it.
Team,
Yeah, we
incredible
did it.
display of fighting mastery. We must get to the source of where these mutated monstrosities are coming from, and more importantly, who's behind it. I sense we're getting close. If you can manage to get to the end of the rail line, we just might find the answers we need.
Corgi's way. How's it going, man? Welcome to the stream. Oh, it just stopped. All right, I got more score. Yay! Yay! Well, but welcome to the stream. As you can see, I am screwing things up badly. Wait, hang on. ASMR. Badly. Does that work? Badly. Alright, anyways, moving on to the next chapter. The end of the line. Let's go. Pew pew. Oh. Well, literally is end of the line. There's an artifact. I just discovered it. Take it, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's go. What? Oh my god. It's damn good. Woo. Oh. Oh my. My game crashed. My game crashed. What? WTF? This is so. What? Okay, I'm trying to get back to the game now. This is so weird. What the heck? It crashed. It crashed. Too much one moaning earlier. Oh. Whatever that is. Alright, I'm trying to load the game now. Not responding. Why? What? What? Why? What did it do to you? I'm running you for the first time. Today is supposed to be your moment of triumph, and you are screwing up on me? WTF. What?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Wait, is it streaming? Yeah, it is streaming. Alright. Now I just have to join my friend. RWBY is anti-Morris. Please don't. Not like that. Alright, I'm coming to join you, my friend. Just stay in there. You're not in there anymore. Alright, fine. I'll create another one. Alright. What? Just crashed. Just crashed. What? Why did it crash? I'm in the right chapter, right? End of the line. There we go. Start. The game crashed on me. This is stupid. Alright, artifact. I know there's one over there. There we go. Gotcha.
Hello.
Hello. Girl, it's so on today. Oh, here we go. RWB was anti-Morse impossible. Oh, no way. Alright. This is weird. Game crashed on me? What? And it was like the standard Unity error message too. Oh boy. Alright, here we go.
Perfect form. Perfect form.
How did you
Perfect form.
how do you do that?
Perfect form.
How do you do that? C? No, it's not C. B and fine. Team execute.
But I just did that.
Wow, almost dead, almost died there. Stun, baby, stun! Yeah!
That's how it's done.
That's how it's done. Smash this to get
No
some
sign of those train tracks
experience.
anywhere. They must be hidden behind one of those doors.
Are there any
See if
more
you can find a
artifacts
way
here?
to get them open.
Why do people seem to always lose their keys?
True. Why do they always lose their keys? Wait, did we just go through this map? Oh, you got the key. Haha. Alright, there we go. Is there an artifact here? Nope, no artifacts. You tricked me! How could you? Of all the nights we spent together, how could you trick me? It's your cousin! It's your cousin! It's like, Japanese stuff. Why are you moving so fast? I'm sprinting, aren't I? WTF? Alright, there we go. Hello. Whoop. Whew. Okay, this is intense, really. Oh my goodness. Boom. 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 Woohoo.
So easy.
No, it was not that easy, but
Let's see if this works.
hang on, is the stream running? Yeah, it's stream running. It's running fine. Oh, by the way, if there's anything wrong with the stream, guys, just let me know, alright? I'll try to correct it as much as I can. Oh, there's a route over here. Could this be artifact route? Is this backtracking? What? Am I backtracking? Alright,
Why are
I'm
they loading onto that ship?
coming back to you.
Something's not right.
Team, this discovery is a bit unexpected and worse than I feared. That appears to be an active Merlot Industries ship. But Dr. Merlot hasn't been heard from or seen in ages. I must inform Osborne at once.
Oh.
Meanwhile, I want you to investigate that ship, but please,
Bourbon!
keep a safe distance.
Bourbon just joined us. Bourbon! Bourbon back. Just joined the fight. Oh, home. Did I miss anything? You missed awesome. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The game crashed on me again. What? This, what? The game crashed on me again. This is stupid. Why?
Oh yeah.
Is it really eating my complete resources like crazy? Let me check. What's eating it? What? Why is it crashing? Please, guys, don't quit. Don't quit. Just continue with it. I'll jump right in so that we don't have to start from scratch again. Yeah. I don't think it has to do with the network, but it's more like the system, like my computer system. It's not exactly like. All right, I'm here. Oh, this is embarrassing.
Let's go swimming!
Let's
Team,
go
this discovery is a bit
swimming.
unexpected and worse than I feared. That appears to be an active Merlot Industries ship. But Dr. Merlot hasn't been heard from or seen in ages.
Whoa.
I must inform Osborne at once. Meanwhile, I want you to investigate that ship, but please.
The combat lag is really interesting, but oh well. Oh, there we go. Let me help you. Alright, okay, alright. I just said you just missed a couple of DCs. I'm not proud of those DCs, man. Boom.
Aw, is that all?
Relocated.
Ah, yes, that all. Oh, the it crashed again. It crashed again. What? Okay, you know what? Maybe. All right, hang on, hold on. This is weird. This is weird. Okay, I've all right, maybe I'll just adjust the graphical settings. That might help. I mean, I'm playing Windows mode, smaller resolution, and normal graphics, so But you know what? Let's reduce the graphics even further. That might help. That might help. Okay, so I'll get rid of Bloom. I'll get rid of SSAO. You see that resolution? 1280 by 720. I'll put this on potato. Ooh, this is gonna, it's gonna be bad. There we go. Confirm changes. Not much of a difference actually. All right. I cannot do full screen because I need to because I want to monitor the chat. And since I don't have a separate window, this is the best I could go up with. So all right, there we go. Yes, potato settings. Doesn't really seem. Doesn't seem too bad. Although it does seem a bit laggy. I tried to before for the phone to monitor the chat, but it's not as good as one might think. Wow, the screen is going crazy. Is it me or does it seem like, you know, the frame rate is kind of bad? The frame rate does seem kind of bad now, doesn't it? Oh no. I want to play this game to show my appreciation for my viewers. This is not how it's supposed to happen. What? Computer. But then again, my computer isn't exactly, you know, powerful computer. So still I'm playing on low resolution too. Yeah, but the frame rate, geez, is actually worse. Who am I hitting? Okay, you. Let me contribute to the battle. There we go. What? Whoa! Okay, there we go. I am sorry, guys, you fellow viewers. I'm sorry to be subjecting you to this, man. I'm really, really sorry. I do not know why this is happening. I mean, I played Guild Wars 2 in Windows mode, right? And yet, it doesn't crash like this, though. Settings. Hang on. Oh, I can't change it? Oh, ow, ow, ow.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. We need more crashes. No! Don't jinx me! Where are you guys going? Here? Huh? What? Where'd you guys go? OMG, I'm stuck here now. No! Come on, there we go. Oh, that was close. Alright, I'm coming to you guys. What? Where are you guys shooting from? Oh, you guys are long-range characters. Boom, baby, boom.
Thanks for the help.
Challenge unlocked? Chili chili yang yang? Oh my goodness, the pun is strong with this one. Life is boring without crashes. Corsi! I wonder where you get your life lessons from, but oh well. Oh dear. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Boom. Okay, that worked. There we go, there we go. I need to find new targets to fight. They are just wiping out the field. I'm not contributing a lot to this team. Ouch. Heal up, please. Thank you very much. Oh, there's another wave coming in. Oh, it's the bear guys. Oh my god, it crashed again. No wait. I can still continue. I mean, I received a Unity error message, but I can still continue. That's right. I'm not stopping. I'm not stopping. Hell no. How dare you? Ow, 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 ow. As long as I don't click on the OK button on the error message, it will not force me out of the game. But why is it crashing? Is it because of this particular level? Ouch. Whoop. Boom. There we go. Ultimate boom. Whoa, dodge out of the way, dodge out of the way. Yep, the game is still working as long as I don't click OK on the error message. You know, like, oh, ow. You know those Unity games where like you experience about like crashes, like error messages and crashes and all that, and then this white pop-up window appears. Come on, revive, boom. I saved you. And no, I have not watched the show. Actually,
Great job, you made it to the ship. I may need you to get a closer look to see what kind of cargo they're carrying. But be careful not to be spotted. Who knows what kind of security they have.
Alright, so anyways, as I was saying, I have not played this, I have not watched the show before, but I heard about it, so I never really got into it. Oh, someone disconnected. It's a Bourbon disconnected. I wonder why.
Team!
The game crashed for him.
Students, please! Oh dear. Husband's going to be happy
wow.
about this.
Why is it crashing? Oh, and we got to the end of the game without Bourbon, and Bourbon was like, you know, doing a lot of work together with Ichikaze too. Oh man, Bourbon, I'm so sorry. But with that said, there is the error message. It says the game crashed. Oops. The crash report folder named today's date and time next to game executable. It would be great if it's sent to the developer of the game. So as long as I don't click on OK, the game continues. I had more than 1,000 score. Yes, you do, Bourbon. It's loading now. Oh, see, as long as I don't click on the OK in the pop-up window, because the pop-up window is still there. As long as I don't do it, it will still remain there. Okay, boom, there we go. What? Bourbon, you are free to join us at any time, though. Ooh. Is there an artifact here? Nothing. It's a bit disappointing. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. This summer, Jean-Claude Van Damme is the sweeper. For all the times you stood by me. You're inside the map?
Let's head over to that tower thingy. Maybe we'll get better reception.
Oh, we decline?
I guess this island isn't so deserted after all.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
I'll get a suntan while I destroy this guy.
Oh dear, I'm getting my ass kicked. These guys are tough. Oh shit. Oh my goodness, someone disconnected again. Is it Bourbon? Hey, Bourbon, you're in. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh boy. Okay. I'm coming to help you. I'm coming to help you. Revive, please, revive. Gotcha!
I can do better.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Ultimate, please. Boom. Alright. It's working. Oh, jeez, Josh. Jeez. These enemies are tough.
Done.
Ho. Are there any artifacts here? Guys, if there's any artifacts, do help me find those as well.
I bet this opens from somewhere else.
I'm late into the action. I'm coming. I'm sprinting. If you call this sprinting. Oh, there we go. Whoop. Oh, my ultimate is not charged up yet. That's a bit of a shame. Go, boom, baby. Came a bit late, but there we go.
I knew you'd have me back.
Damn it. Oh boy, oh my goodness, there's so many things happening. Oh jeez, there's so many things happening. What do I focus on?
That's gonna leave a mark.
Is this how the show is? Is this how the show?
Team Ruby!
Yeah, Team Ruby! Oh my goodness, the high pitched tone. My eardrums will bleed.
To the tower. You there, Dr. Oobleck? Still no reception. Let's push the button up there.
There's an artifact right under there.
Just keep doing that. Radio seems to be giving me some feedback, so I'm not sure how much. Great, somewhere else on that island. You must make sure at all costs that you don't think of it. Understood?
Dr. Oobleck, we kinda heard you. Let's keep exploring, team.
Let's go disappoint team. Oh, where do I go? That way? Yep, that way. Hey there, kids. How's it going? Aha. I came in just in the nick of time to save you all. Ah. There we go. Yep. I clearly contributed. Yep. You see, once again, my presence made all the difference. I mean, after all, let's face it, like because I played this game, otherwise you guys wouldn't have played it, right? I think. Oh my god, the camera!
They say there's no I in team, but I just did that.
Yep, I just did that. There we go. See? Jeez. Damn it. I'm coming here. Alright.
Done.
Done. Alright. Good.
Look, another tower!
What do we do to the tower anyways? Oh jeez. I have a feeling that this game is like running on like 30 frames per second instead of 60 frames per second, so it does make things not as smooth as I hope. It's causing a bit of a motion sickness in me. I need to turn it back from like increase it up. Look at Blake's name. Blake's name? Who's Blake? Oh, I can put new skills. Second winds depleted.
There's the last
Heavy
tower.
attacks. Let's do that. Where? Oh, I just followed them. Lost track over there. All right, coming. I'm coming. Whee! Huntress has fallen. Oh dear. Oh dear. Ouch. Oh, dodge out of the way. Dodge out of the way. Boom. There we go, there we go, there we go. Oh boy, oh, ouch. Boom. Oh, I think I took out quite a while. Dodge. Double that dodge. There we go. Truly teamwork at its finest. Waze, are you okay, Waze? Alright. Jeez. Alright. So far so good. So far so good. Hey man, have you something I would do and click on OK? What? It's showing on my screen? No! I will not click on that, you evil man! I will not cause it to restart the game! Or rather to close the game. I will not fall into your dark trap, you evil man. Everyone, Corgi is very evil, watch out for him. He tried to trick me. Oh my goodness, there's an artifact on top of this
That's better.
of this crate. How do we get there?
It's always so bad all the way out here. I hope you're enjoying your stay on the island. You're the first visitors I've had in, well,
Is that a bad
the
person?
first.
Sorry, but I think you've got the wrong number.
Oh, where are my manners? Allow me to introduce myself. My name's Dr. Malone. You don't know me, but I most certainly know who you are.
Dr. Malone.
Nevertheless, I'm thrilled you're here. You might be exactly what I need for a very important
Experiment.
Tell us what you want, Merlot.
For such terrific students as yourselves, it should be an easy test, right?
No wonder you guys say that your characters are OP, because you just stand at a distance and you just fire away waves of energy. Boom, boom. So cheaty.
You're the bestest teammate ever.
Whoop. Boom, baby. So much for spamming. Yep. You're not supposed to spam, my friend. Alright, I'll come and help you. There we go. Let me rub you. There we go. Wait a minute. Blake's name is Waze? The character's name. Or rather, the player's name. Right? Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. There we go. There we go. That should deal with it. Let's come over here. There we go. See ya. Oh. Boom, baby. There we go. There we go. Oh, so cool. There we go. Nice. Right. Monochrome confirmed.
Spin. Or shall I call you ours? Like old times, chum.
Like old times, chomp. Oh, jolly good there. Careful, crumpet. Yeah. There we go. Both ultimates are up. Ready to use it at any time. Boom, baby.
I thought you perished in the mountain.
Goodness, there's so many waves.
A tragedy you played no small part in.
It was a mere speed bump on the superhighway of scientific progress.
Oh, whoop,
You
whoop, whoop,
couldn't
whoop.
possibly imagine the ramifications of my latest research.
The world was a much safer place without you.
There we go. Right, there comes the hog. You know, it just makes me wonder, it's like, these creatures, maybe we are the ones messing up their, environment, and they're just pissed off because they're just fighting in, interference. Boom, baby. Although it doesn't really feel that way, does it? Whoop. Someone over there. Oh, so far so good. Oh dear, you. There we go. And just a bit more, just a bit more, baby. Just a bit more. There we go. Beautiful. Yours. Just remember. Very, very good. Very good. Oh, so remember guys, if your game crashes, right, and that pop-up window appears, don't click on the OK button. Should solve. Your game would still be able to run as per normal, as long as you don't say that, hey, close the program.
They're more than a match for your mindless robots.
These are robots?
Here is wrong.
Alright, there we go, Mars. Why don't you use long-range attacks? I can use long-range attacks? Because I've been experimenting and and this character doesn't seem to be able to use long-range attacks. She's like a, she's like a close-range fighter. Whoop. Boom. Press R. Oh, that's a long-range attack? No way. Yeah, and besides the amount of damage it deals is actually quite pathetic compared to like just getting in up close and personal and doing combos. Personally, I think that they actually are a lot more effective. Scratch bit. There we go. Okay, back to the game. Boom, baby. Ah, this ain't a party. This ain't a scene. It's a goddamn. My teammates are the ones that's dealing most of the stuff.
Say what you will about me. It won't change the fact that you're powerless to stop.
Oh my god. This is exhausting.
Always do.
Well, let's agree to disagree. I tell you, Owls, it has been truly a pleasure catching up, but unfortunately it's time for me to run.
Farewell,
chum.
Farewell, old chum.
We've been attempting to locate Merlot's island, but have yet to obtain its coordinates. I need you to continue exploring and contact me when you find any evidence of his whereabouts.
Unscathed. Oh, I got myself a new. I almost have. I got the most scores again! What? 0 deaths. Whoa, damn, dude. All right. Oh, jeez. This game is taking quite a toll on me. So, gonna get Ruby to level 10. Oh, I'm at level 10. Only boys harem incoming. Ew, ew. I don't want boys. Disgusting. But anyways, guys, I think I should stop. I'm not for some reason, all the fast paces and all that stuff, and especially with the slightly lower frame rate now, is actually making me feeling a bit queasy. So, I'm gonna stop here for now, and to continue the adventure of RWBY, or Ruby in this case, for my next stream. And so you guys, any of you guys who has the game, are free to join me. Yes, I have to stop. I'm sorry, Corgi, but I think I should stop. This game is definitely making me queasy. I'm not sure what's making me queasy. Like, the first couple of chapters was fine, but I think after making the changes to the graphics and all the crashing and all that stuff, all of a sudden it's giving me some kind of like, and especially the camera just like zooming in and out and all that stuff, it's just making things really uncomfortable. It could be that, or maybe I'm just really feeling under the weather because I actually took some paracetamol earlier on. What? What just happened? Did you guys just complete the game? What? What happened? What was that screen? What was that screen? What is this? What just happened? What just happened? Huh? What? Host migration. Is that what it is? I didn't die though. What a strange thing. Still, anyways, I really think I should stop. I should rest early tonight though. I feel. But I will continue the story of this. What chapters I am right now? I can't really check. It's called The Grim Discovery. Like, how many more chapters are there? Because, but nonetheless, regardless how many chapters are there, I invite you guys to join me next time. He's fleeing the boys' harem. Darn! My secret has been revealed. But yeah, so nonetheless, Bourbon. Again, the screen. What the? Huh? 3 more left. 3 more left? Fine, fine. You know what? Okay, fine. Let's do this. I'll see how long I can handle it. Alright, let's do that. Boom. Let's go. Wait. Can I change this? Oh no, I can't.
Look at this place. What is Merlot doing here? Students,
Oh, okay, don't touch that.
If
There we
by
go.
something you mean an industrial-sized drilling operation, then yeah, we totally found something.
Is there an artifact here? What's happening? His 2L1H is good. His ulti is great.
Merlot is on this island for a reason. He's harvesting this substance.
Oh.
Whatever he's using it for.
I discovered the combo by chance. Oh dear. 1, 2, whoop. 1, 2, whoop. Whoa. 1, 2, whoop. 1, 2, whoop. 1, 2, whoop. Oh, ow, 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 ow. Okay, dodge those guys. Hunter is fallen. Let me help you. Rub your tummy. Oh, dodge, dodge. Gonna explode.
Time to get cranking. On that crank. Right there.
Oh my
Great, finally.
god, Yang. The pun. Oh, jeez. Time to get cranking on the crank. Ugh. Ugh.
That definitely got his attention. I want you to follow the pipeline. Any luck will lead us right to Dr. Merlot.
How do
I
we?
can hear everything you're saying.
Oh, there it is. Is that the one? Nope. No button. Oh, dodge out of the way! Dodge out of the way! Ah! Ah! Dodge out of the way! Ah! Dodge out of the way! Ah! Yup. So far so good. Now John's name is Waste. We live in the weird world. Since when have we not lived in the weird world? Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Ah! Jeez. Someone's down again. Let me help you. Hey, come on, gotcha.
Break your legs for that.
You're welcome. Oh, jeez. Once again, more saves a day. This way then?
Guess we're going this way.
It's amazing that you survived the disaster in Mountain Glen, Merlot. Was it sheer luck or part of your master plan?
Would you believe me if I told you it wasn't my fault?
Should we believe that it wasn't his fault? I don't know.
I believe that you wouldn't take accountability for your actions.
Oh, monster. Oh man, the camera is making me queasy. The back and forths. Alright. Boom, baby. Whoa. So these are robots? Like programs or something?
Admittedly, Mountain Glen is a bit of a sore spot for
Now
me.
they are actually
Days of
together
hard
together.
work.
Together forever and
Not to
ever.
mention all of the specimens I collected over the years.
Where is the lever? This one?
Let me get this straight. You're upset that you lost your research?
Oh crap, there's more. Alright, good. Let me help you out. Ow. There we go. Hold on.
Merlot Industries was critical to the advancement of artificial intelligence and genetics. Without it, Remnant would still be in the Dark Ages.
You've missed the point. An entire city was laid to waste. Countless lives were lost. My only question is how much of the damage were you personally responsible for?
Unless
How
he
else
got
was I
insurance
supposed to
out of it.
conduct my research?
Ah, see?
No supply of
Could
test
be, right?
cells was running thin.
And when the Grim came back, the city's population was driven underground.
Crap, I pressed the wrong button. Ah, dang it.
Never mess with my
They say there's no I in team, but I just did that.
Yep, I just did that. Oh, was that me? Jeez. Alright, we did it. 3 more ways to go. Yabba-dabba-doo.
So much better when we work together.
Ouch. There we go. Alright, that's down with. And let me help you out here. Nope. Boom, baby. Oh yeah, feel the yang. Dodge! Ah! Just run around like a sissy. Run like a sissy, run like a sissy. Don't get involved. Oh wait, I should get involved with that. Oh, boom. Where are you? There you go. Ow. Dodge. Oh crap. There we go. Let me help you. Come on, come on. Oh no! Whoop. Ultimate!
Nailed it.
There we go. Kabam! Are we done? No, there's still more! One, two, three. One, two. Oh crap! Dodge! One, two. Oh, whoa. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Woohoo! Watch out of the way. Man, this guy's tough. Alright, I hear you. Revive. So close. Got you.
Let's just pretend that didn't happen.
Alright, we did it. Oh, jeez. Whew. Oh my god, there's more. Oh, it's a stormtrooper. It's a stormtrooper. Do they have licenses to do that?
Things happen for a reason, Oz. I mean, your little prodigy's practically washed ashore here on the
I'm not sure what
Maybe
Oh.
he can be of some
It's
use to me
exhausting.
after all. How
Oh.
serendipitous.
How serendipitous. Oh. MVP again. Although teamwork, Ichikaze got the most. Pew, pew, pew. Oh my god. Nah, I need to stop. It's seriously making my stomach feel queasy. Whoa. The heck? How? I'm playing Ruan now. The two of them? Oh no, this cup is so confusing. Oh, I'll try to hang in there for one more. Here we go. There's two of them. Oh no. This gotta be horrible. I really want to change the graphics to other than potato. I think
In order for me to help you, I'll need to know the layout of the lab. Keep your eyes peeled for any maps, schematics, or better yet, any access terminals that would allow us to tap into Merlot's network.
Alright, I'm here. Monster's gonna appear, isn't it? There's something in there. Oh, there it is. Ouch. Boom, baby. Dodge out of the way, dodge out of the way. Crap. Whoa, this is annoying. Ah, this is so annoying. Oh, this flashes. It's making. Oh, my eyes.
My guest.
Oh, my eyes.
But my security team rarely
Oh.
feels the same way.
So I need to stop it.
Need to shut that steam off.
Alright.
No problem.
Okay. I love potatoes, just not in this potato
Gotta let off a little steam.
frame rate quality right now. I think if it's like 60 frames per second at the very least, I wouldn't feel that queasy.
Pride in innovation.
Where are the others?
Together, with your help and a little of your
Oh,
special
they're behind me.
spark, we will build a better tomorrow.
For you, Merlot, there won't be any tomorrow to restore.
What up, Macross? Hey there, how's it going? This is Ruby. I got this game as a gift from one of the viewers, so I wanted to honor her by playing it. And quite a lot of very interesting incidents happening. Oh, dodge out of the way. Go. Go down. Let me rub you alive. And boom.
I got this.
I'm a savior. Dang, son.
Where's this elevator taking us?
That's a very good question. Where is it taking us?
Here before you are the stage
Destroy
two
all the
processing
tanks?
Guys, the river being drawn here.
Ouch. Dodge, dodge, ah! Okay, I did it, dodge all the way. Hang in there, I'll revive you in a while, in an instant, but first, ultimate! Ah! Whoop. Come on, come on, come on. Got you. Whoop. Boom. All right. Tactical, man. Tactical. Whoop. Ow. Oh, ouch. So far so good. Let me get rid of this. Let me destroy the tank. There we go. Tank destroyed. Woohoo! Alright. What's the Haramet? Well, my fellow players actually destroyed the Harem Dream, so yeah, it's kind of sad. If you want to blame them. I was expecting more girls to be joining me, but instead they go, oh guys! It becomes a sausage fest! I will never forgive them for this transgression. Never! Oh, no, oh dear, ouch. Come on. Ow, 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 ow. Dodge, dodge, oh jeez. Ah, boom, baby. Okay, got that. I got that guy. Let me help you. Huh.
I would appreciate it if you didn't break all my things. But alas, my androids will rebuild it in no time. This way, please.
Across, you know you
Okay,
enjoyed
we'll
it.
do what you say. That doesn't mean we trust you. An elevator. This has been all too convenient so far.
I know, because it's the same thing. Sausages and potatoes.
Here
Yep.
we have the engineering wing, the so-called brains of the operation. If you're not counting my own intellect. Oh, don't be timid. There aren't any traps here yet.
Professor Ozpin, we found a motherload of motherboards.
Good finds, team. Do you see any terminals that you can access?
We'll keep our eyes peeled.
Wow. Ow. Ow, dodge.
Oh, I didn't screw up.
Do we go here? Oh! What? That's water, right? Oh, okay, hello. What a strange air duct. That is shockingly huge. So monsters gonna appear here, ain't it? Oh, there it is. Activate.
Wait, did you just... How could I be so stupid?
What?
And uploading.
You did it. Now, can you proxy the signal over to me with your scroll?
Prepare to meet your doom, students!
Boom, baby. Boom. So far so good. So far so good. Dodge out of the way. Nice. Alright, so far so good. Ouch. Damn. Crap. Okay, okay. I better dodge out of the way. You. Come on up. Oh no. Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. So many of them. So many of them. Bam. Oh jeez, are they both down? I hope not. Okay, this one down. That's one down. That's one down. That's one down. Oh jeez, oh jeez, oh jeez. Hang in there, guys. Huh. Damn it. Oh jeez. Alright, just keep calm and carry on. Dodge out of the way. There we go. There we go. All right. Coming. Oh.
Them now!
I think I did pretty well. Well, bam. How's that for a group kill? Team kill. Okay, alright. E. Nope, doesn't really bad. E. Nope, doesn't do much good.
Would you rip them apart already?
Alright, alright, so far so good. Alright. Nice, alright, we did it!
Yes, I have everything I need. Team, I want you to head to the lower levels, to the manufacturing wing.
I'll be waiting.
I'll be waiting. This summer, Jean-Claude Van Damme is... Woo! Oh boy. Total score again, dang son. Which is kinda odd. But, oh well, never mind. Whew. Oh, alright. I have a feeling that this is reaching its climax. Oh, climax. Are you guys gonna stick with these two again? Seems to be the case. Alright, but let me just drink something first. Oh. Ah, my poor eyes. Alright, here we go. Oh dear. Just appear right in front of me. Let me revive you. Done.
Glad that's over with.
Alright, here we go. This is the last chapter. Good luck. Oh no, when you say that, something bad's gonna happen, isn't it? Oh no, this is the boss? You are suffering at the end of this level? Damn you, Corgi. This is what you're here for, isn't it? You sick bastard. I've survived so far with my fists and my
You should be
kicks.
entering a power facility. Destroy everything you see that may be vital to Merlot's operation.
You're not authorized to be in here.
What's important? Sure would be a shame if someone were to totally wreck all of it.
Yep, I am wrecking all of it. Oh no, I'm down. Okay. All right there. Okay. Play. Let me check my skills. I got 1 point. Suppose I could do this. There we go. Team attack. All right. Something's gonna happen here, isn't it? Just waiting for Bourbon to join us. There we go. Oh yay! It's all girls now. All right. You know the climax. Come on, man. It has to be the girls.
The coordinates of Merlot's secret lab were contained within the data retrieved from the terminal. An airship has been deployed and will rendezvous with you shortly.
Let's hurry up and finish so I can ride on the airship.
Oh jeez. Oh jeez. Oh jeez.
Leave it to me.
Oh man.
That's how it's done.
That's how it's done. How is this faster? I don't get it.
You should be entering a power facility. Destroy everything you see that may be vital to Merlot's operation.
You're not authorized to be in here.
I think you've had enough power going to your head, Merlot.
Come on. Jeez. It's annoying. Let me help you. Boom. It should help quite a bit. Oh, ow, 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 ow. Damn it. Come on, baby. Yep, yep. Oh, this stormtrooper is tough.
Will deliver a shock to Merlot's
This
system.
is super tough, man.
That's how you want to play.
Uh-oh. Boss is in it. Mr. Ash.
This has been all too convenient.
Miss Ash. Nice joke. I don't get it.
The floor is alive.
The bench. We can make it.
What? Oh, shit.
According to my map of the lab,
Alright, I got
this
it.
room contains more processing equipment for his serum. You need to take it out. All of it.
Destroy everything? You don't have to ask me twice.
Stop him.
Dodge on the way. Ah, dodge on the way. Ah, there's traps on the floor. Oh, shit. Alright, alright. Let's heal up first. There we go. Alright, let's go to this one. Whoopee, whoopee. Alright, we got it. Ouch. Damn. Oh darn, I wasted my ultimate. Oh well, never mind. Oh, there's the red guy. Let's try to lure him over here. One, two, whoop, pop. Okay, keep calm and carry on. There we go. Took that guy down. There we go. There we go. That's nice.
My serum.
Watch the show and you understand the essence of the joke.
Thankfully, I have already
I think I
synthesized
will.
the perfect combination. It's still in a test phase, but so far the data is looking very impressive.
Fantastic work. I must admit, you really handled this well. The team back at Beacon is cheering for you.
They better have some cookies waiting for me. I deserve them.
Welcome to the testing ground, students. Why don't you
Look at the face.
get acquainted with my test subjects? They could use
Dr.
the
Murdered.
exercise.
Alright. Uh-oh. Oops. Alright, let's do it one at a time. One at a time. Don't worry. No rush. Slowly take them out one at a time. Just keep calm and carry on. Even though this is my first time playing it, there's bound to be some hints. Boy. So far so good. So far so good. I will not let you jinx me, Corgi. I refuse to let you jinx me. I refuse. Boom. Nice. Okay.
That didn't go according to
Oh, 3 more waves. Oh dear.
plan. This more interesting.
This is not good. Just keep calm and carry on. Eventually, I will be fine. Eventually. Ouch. Oh, damn. Does it work? Alright. Nice. Alright, here we go. Alright. Next wave is done.
This was my most potent batch of serum.
Whew, okay. We're almost there, come on. I think we're just hanging there, Morris. You sexy beast.
Beginning to think
Oh.
I made a huge mistake.
Nice, alright. Ultimate is almost charged. Aha!
Thanks, friend.
Alright. The stormtroopers. Boom. Nice. Alright. Ugh. Yay.
So it has come to this.
Oh, is it? Oh, shit.
Deathstalker.
Don't be shy, students. You can learn a lot from this enhanced specimen. They won't teach you a thing about this package. Nature
Oh,
couldn't
wow.
make a beast this deadly. So I
Oh, jeez. Okay. I see what you mean.
stings it and doesn't it?
Alright, just keep calm. Observe right there.
You're
There we
easy,
go.
friend. Is that the best you got?
Dodge out of the way. Let's go over there. Dodge out of the way. There we go. Yes. Dodge. There we go. Oh, dodge out of the way. Yep. There we go. Come on. This is a long fight, that's for sure. Oh dear. Dodge, all the way. There we go, there we go, there we go. Ouch. Ouch, whoa. Alright, alright, oh dear, oh dear. Huh? I've fallen. Revive me, thank you! Thank you! But why? My aura was at maximum. Oh dear, dodge out of the way, thank you. Boom. Okay. Did it hurt the boss? Oh dear. Let me help you. Revive, 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 revive. Oh jeez, so close. Alright, alright, let's. Crap. It's too close to. Alright, let's get the attention out of the way. Over here, come on. Alright, let's go revive. Go. Revive. Go. Ah, whoa. Alright. Just run, baby, run.
Leave it to me.
Oh jeez, this is hard to aim for. Dodge, dodge. There we go. Someone at the door? Hold on. No one's at the door. Sorry about that. Oh crap. Sorry, sorry.
He's looking hungry.
I got distracted. My apologies. But hang in there. Thank you. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Dodge out of the way. Oh crap. Wow, this is tough. This is definitely tough. Jeez. Respawning in 30. Oh! Are we all down? We are all down. Jeez. We got our ass kicked. I'm sorry. Ah, final exam. This is rough. Whoa. I'm distracted. More star students. Let's do it again.
Stings a little, doesn't it?
Oh, that hurts.
You're easy prey. Is that the best you got? Nature couldn't make a beast this deadly.
Yeah, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoop. So focused right now. So focused right now. So focused. Oh boy. One. Oh jeez. 1, 2. Go 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 go. Dodge. Dodge. There we go. Are we dealing on damage? I mean, we are according to the bar, but still. Oh dear. Oh, okay. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Oh, dodge out of the way. Dodge out of the way. Oh, the small guys.
You're not going to like him when he's angry.
Okay, so let's take down the goons first.
Those powerful princes are going to punish you, pitiful pupil.
Boom.
He's looking hungry. No doubt you'll savor your taste as I savor my.
Okay, one goon down. Whoop. Damn it. Okay, another goon down, good. So this should give us a bit more to focus on. You, sir. Okay, he's down. Your turn. Okay, he's down as well. Your turn. Here we go. Oh, really? One good down, one good spawn? Okay, so I guess I'll aim for the boss then. Damn it. Attack in the face. After 2-3 attacks, he will try to hit you with the tail. After the tail is stuck in the ground, hit it. Really? Alright, let's try that. Whoa. Dodge. Oh, shit. Oh, dear. Oh, boy. Wow. Alright. Guys, just hang in there. Just hang in there. Just try to survive. Don't respawn me. Just try to survive. I'll revive anyways in 30 seconds time. It's being pushed. Right, so hitting the goons wouldn't help. I thought it would, right? Man, the balancing is a bit rough. Also, I got instantly killed by a grenade. 7 more seconds and I could have revived. Oh, man, my head hurts so much. It's true, I'm not joking. Oh my goodness. Oh, my head. Gonna repeat this again, aren't we? Yeah, we are. Dodge! Ah! Oh! Oh, so that's the way. Okay, I get it. Interesting. Thanks for sharing.
Nature could never be this deadly, so
Ah, that's the way. Okay, I got it. Yes, you are not joking. You certainly do have a secret to it. Oh crap, okay. Yeah, thank you.
those powerful princes are going to punish you, pitiful pupil.
Alright, let me just revive. Oh crap, not again.
He's hungry. No doubt you'll savor your taste as I savor my.
Whoa! Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, 2 are down now. Crap, crap, crap. Come on, come on, come on.
Rain from the sky.
Just need to hold on for 20 seconds. Just need to hold on for 20 seconds and then I'll revive and then I'll try to revive you, Waze.
Plunge that stinger down and don't let up.
Oh my god, that's it running around where I'm gonna revive! Come on, come on. Got it. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What? 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 Where are you? Ah, there you are. Okay, I'm coming to you, Waze. Cut you. What? Oh, my ultimate has been reset. Oh, okay. Ouch. Where's the damn scorpion? Right over there. Oh, not again. Not again. Oh, no. 2 down. Seriously? Fighting the goons and then trying to clear them up?
impossible.
Doesn't work?
You should be getting eaten alive by now.
Who's surviving so far? It's Bourbon. Bourbon's holding onto the shell with the grenade launchers and stuff,
Come
man.
on, finish them off already.
This is such a cheaty way to win. Oh, my headache. Oh.
Hang in there, my precious.
Alright. Almost revived. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and boom, revive. Oh my goodness, it's just right there too. Ah! God damn it! It revived me in the worst possible position. Alright, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, whoa. Oh, whoa. God damn it! Watch out!
Back in action.
So close. Oh no. Dodge the grenades. Oh boy. Oh. You. Okay. Ow. Okay. I'll try to catch their attention. Shit. Oh, darn. Shite. Ooh, the ice over there. Nice grenade. 2 down. Oh no. Who's life race? Oh no, it's Bourbon. Oh, Bourbon, hang in there. Oh my goodness. This is insane. Seriously, I'm having a headache since the afternoon. I took some paracetamol. Doesn't seem to be working. Which is also why I wanted to sleep just a bit earlier tonight. Still, I don't think I can go to sleep peacefully if I don't complete this game, huh? Oh my goodness, I spawned the worst bombs in the way. Come on, revive. There we go.
Much appreciated.
Dodge out of the way. Oh, wow, I almost got killed by the grenade. Now where's the damn scorpion? There we go. Oh, it's so close. So close. There you are. Damn it. Alright, revive it. Alright. Oh! Guys, you almost got it. There's 2 of you that's still alive, right? Yes, 2 of you that's still alive. Right. Carry me through the game. So epic. Corgis. You're enjoying our pain, aren't you? But I don't think it's as painful as it made it. I think it's because, you know, like, oh, we're just good.
How you take down a mutated Deathstalker?
No! I want
We did it!
specimen. This is inconceivable.
It's all over, Merlot. You've got nothing left.
There is something I can do. Let's end this with a bang.
Team, Merlot is going to blow up the whole lab. You've got to escape.
Well, this was fun, but it's
Alright.
time to go. To the escape hatch.
Do the escape hatch. Where?
You've done it. The airship should arrive any moment. I'll see you as soon as you land safely back.
Oh, okay. Wow. Oh, is it a cutscene? No, I didn't have the decency to show me, show them jumping into the ship. Or because you're not playing on the hardest difficulty. I play on the normal. So yeah. Whoa. Which is good enough for me. Oh. Yep. Both of them are the MVPs. I'm just a person that's just piggybacking throughout the entire place. Oh. Yay! Yay! It's Ruby Green Eclipse. Thank you all so much for watching me play this. From start to finish too. So these are the credits, and that means I will also need to go and check out the series as well. So by Rooster Teeth Games. So these are the talented folks that worked on it. Although, hey, 3D artist, level designer, Antti Cortez, you know, some of the things that I mentioned about the game, the level design itself, I think you might want to take note of those. There's more to come though. Yeah, working on the third part. So you made this is like what? The second part? Is this the second part? Excuse me. Oh jeez. Alright, there we go. Thank you all so much for dropping by. Let me reward you guys with this, man. Boom. Everyone gets 5 more coins. It's like a whole hour, right? Or like 50 or 15 minutes of watching for free. Based on the original series by Monty Rooster Teeth. It's quite strange that I actually remember Rooster Teeth for their Red vs. Blue series as a joke between like they actually did a machinima series with the Halo characters. Halo 1, Halo multiplayer. It's just like a team Red, Team Blue. It's just hilarious. Those were the days, you know. And now they have gained fame, they've gained recognition, they got more people working on stuff, the production value went up, they're moving on to better, you know, to greener pastures and all that stuff. Just amazing stuff. Still, done this on my stream. So, now the whole thing again with another chart. And down goes. No, I will have to stop now because I genuinely do not feel well, so I should rest soon. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they still do. I just kind of lost track of it since like for a few years now. So I'm just letting it play through the credits, so to give, you know, the development team the due credit that they deserve for making all this. Special thanks: coffee, cookies, beer, slime, basketball, hip hop air horns, mod pizza, torches, tacos, stabby carrot, Titans tacos, Freebirds, Taco Deli, Alamo Draft House, Tips Treats, Mueller, the Medellins, Tomato Basil Soup, Soundcheck, Square Buttons, Topo Chico, Pistachios Puns, Mechanical Keyboards, Jordan Schultz, Shaker, Overwatch, Ozzy Posborn, Gorf Brooks, Wrinkly Riley, Broomhilda, Dabs, Felix the Dog, and Sir Baristan Donilin. There we go. And of course, special thanks, and you! Rooster Teeth Games. The end. Oh. Oh, okay. Alright, that's it. Thank you all so much for joining me. I really appreciate you all playing with me tonight. Thank you so much, Bourbon, Ichikaze as well. Thank you both for playing with me throughout the entire game. I really appreciate that. And the game just crashed. The game genuinely just crashed. It's the same. Oh no, it's back again. Perfect form. Lol. Alright, so with that said, my name is Morris. Thank you all so much for dropping by. Granted, it's not the best perfect one. It's not exactly the most epic of gameplays. Like, you know, I don't think I played relatively well, but still, you know, I saw this three strikes missed. But nonetheless, thank you all so much. Thank you both of you as well. And with that said, to be continued. See you guys next time on the next stream. And I will rest early now so that I can feel better the next morning. Winter, I saw this restrict. What is going on? What secrets are you keeping from me? Alright, so Corgis, thank you so much for dropping by as well. You know, it's really nice of you to be watching my humble stream. I hope you enjoy it. The next game that I'm thinking of playing, either I continue with my Guild Wars adventure, or I may play some Heroes of the Storm. But let me just do a quick search, a quick look at my my Steam library. So, got a few. There's this free game that I found. It's called Trick and Treat. It's supposed to be a visual game novel, so I might play that just to, you know, take it a bit slow and just relax a bit and stuff like that. So with that said, thank you all so much once again, and I'll see you guys next time. Good night. I just now need to click on the stop stream button. Ciao.